By 1916, the First World War was being fought not only on land but also across the world's oceans. Control of the sea was essential. It determined trade, supplies, communications, and the movement of military forces. For Britain, naval superiority was a cornerstone of national survival. For Germany, challenging British naval dominance offered one of the few opportunities to alter the balance of the war. Since the conflict began in 1914, the world's two most powerful fleets had largely avoided a full-scale confrontation. Both sides understood the risks. A single disastrous battle could change the course of the war, yet sooner or later, many believed a decisive clash was inevitable. In May 1916, that moment finally arrived. The naval arms race that led to Jutland had begun years before the war itself. In 1906, Britain launched a revolutionary warship known as the HMS Dreadnought. Its design transformed naval warfare overnight. Older battleships suddenly appeared obsolete. The world's major powers rushed to build similar vessels. Germany responded by expanding its own fleet. Over the following decade, Britain and Germany competed intensely to construct increasingly powerful battleships and battlecruisers. The competition fueled international tensions and contributed to the growing rivalry between the two nations. By 1916, both sides possessed fleets unlike anything the world had ever seen. Gigantic steel warships armed with massive guns and protected by thick armor. Soon, those fleets would meet in combat. Britain entered the war with a significant naval advantage. Its Grand Fleet, based at Scapa was larger than its German counterpart. As a result, Britain established a naval blockade designed to restrict German access to global trade and resources. The blockade gradually placed increasing pressure on the German economy. German naval leaders sought ways to weaken British superiority. One strategy involved luring portions of the British fleet into battle and destroying them before the entire Grand Fleet could intervene. If successful, Germany might reduce the numerical advantage enjoyed by Britain. The plan was risky, but it offered one of the few realistic opportunities to challenge British dominance at sea. The German operation was commanded by Reinhard Scheer. His objective was to draw out portions of the British fleet using fast battlecruisers as bait. The plan relied on surprise, speed, and careful coordination. What Scheer did not know was that British intelligence had gained valuable information about German naval communications. British codebreakers had successfully intercepted and deciphered several German signals. As a result, the British Grand Fleet was already preparing to respond. Rather than encountering isolated enemy forces, the Germans were moving toward a much larger confrontation. Both sides believed they were maneuvering into a favorable position. Neither fully understood how quickly events were about to escalate. On May 31st, 1916, the first major contact occurred in the North Sea. The opening phase of the battle involved opposing battlecruiser forces commanded by David Beatty and Franz von Hipper. These ships were among the fastest and most heavily armed vessels afloat. As the fleets sighted one another, enormous guns opened fire. Shells weighing hundreds of kilograms crossed vast distances through the air. Columns of water erupted around maneuvering ships. The battle quickly demonstrated both the power and vulnerability of battlecruisers. Designed for speed and heavy firepower, some sacrificed protection compared to traditional battleships. Within hours, that design choice would have deadly consequences. During the early fighting, several British battlecruisers suffered catastrophic explosions. One of the most famous losses was the HMS Queen Mary. A successful German shell penetrated critical areas of the ship. Moments later, a massive explosion tore through the vessel. Hundreds of sailors were killed almost instantly. Observers watched in shock as enormous warships disappeared beneath the sea. The losses highlighted dangerous weaknesses in ammunition, handling procedures, and battlecruiser design. For British sailors, the opening phase of Jutland was proving unexpectedly costly. Yet the battle was only beginning. Far larger fleets were still approaching. As the engagement expanded, the main fleets finally approached one another. The British Grand Fleet, commanded by John Jellicoe, consisted of dozens of battleships and supporting vessels. Jellicoe faced immense responsibility. Some historians later remarked that he was one of the few commanders who could lose the war in a single afternoon. If the British fleet suffered a catastrophic defeat, Germany might gain control of the seas. As reports arrived and enemy positions became clearer, Jellicoe deployed his fleet into battle formation. The maneuver was executed successfully. Suddenly, German ships found themselves facing the concentrated firepower of the world's largest battle fleet. Recognizing the danger, Admiral Scheer ordered a dramatic maneuver. The German fleet executed a near-simultaneous turn away from the British line. The operation required exceptional discipline and seamanship. Had it failed, multiple German ships might have been destroyed. Instead, the maneuver succeeded. German vessels escaped immediate disaster and temporarily regained freedom of movement. The battle now entered its most complex phase. Smoke, darkness, weather conditions, and the enormous scale of the engagement made accurate information difficult to obtain. Commanders on both sides often made critical decisions with incomplete knowledge of the situation around them. As evening approached, the battle reached its most intense stage. Entire squadrons exchanged fire across the North Sea. Massive shells struck armor plating with tremendous force. Some exploded on impact, others penetrated deep into ships before detonating. The scale of destruction was unprecedented. Warships weighing tens of thousands of tons maneuvered through smoke-filled waters, while firing guns capable of hitting targets many kilometers away. Visibility constantly changed. Ships appeared and disappeared behind smoke clouds, mist, and darkness. For many sailors, the battle felt chaotic and confusing. Yet beneath the apparent disorder, commanders continued attempting to position their fleets for advantage. Every decision carried enormous consequences. As darkness fell, the nature of the battle changed. Naval engagements of this scale rarely continued effectively at night. Communication became more difficult. Identification of friendly and enemy ships grew increasingly uncertain. Despite these challenges, numerous clashes occurred during the night. Destroyers launched torpedo attacks. Cruisers exchanged fire at close range. Individual ships sometimes encountered enemy vessels unexpectedly in the darkness. The confusion created opportunities as well as dangers. Both fleets attempted to maneuver while avoiding catastrophic mistakes. For sailors standing watch on darkened decks, every distant light or shadow could signal either safety or sudden destruction. By the morning of June 1st, the German fleet had successfully withdrawn toward its home ports. The British remained in control of the North Sea. The battle was over. Yet a new question immediately emerged. Who had actually won? From a tactical perspective, Germany had inflicted heavier losses. The British lost more ships and more sailors. German commanders pointed to these figures as evidence of victory. However, strategy told a different story. The German fleet had retreated. Britain maintained naval dominance. The blockade remained intact. The larger objectives of German naval strategy had not been achieved. Thus began a debate that historians continue discussing more than a century later. The statistics alone were staggering. More than 250 ships participated in the battle. Roughly 100,000 sailors were involved. Thousands lost their lives. Numerous vessels were sunk or heavily damaged. Never before had such powerful battle fleets engaged one another on this scale. The battle demonstrated both the strengths and weaknesses of early 20th century naval warfare. It revealed the importance of communications, reconnaissance, fire control systems, armor protection, and ammunition safety. Military planners around the world carefully studied the lessons of Jutland. Many of those lessons would influence naval development for decades. Although Jutland was the largest naval battle of the First World War, it did not produce the decisive outcome many had expected. The German high seas fleet survived. The British Grand Fleet remained dominant. Both sides claimed success. Both sides faced criticism. Yet the strategic balance of the war at sea changed very little. After Jutland, Germany became increasingly cautious about risking its surface fleet in another major confrontation. The possibility of losing valuable battleships outweighed the potential gains. As a result, German naval strategy gradually shifted toward a different weapon, one that would soon become one of the most feared threats of the war, the submarine. In the years that followed, historians continued debating the meaning of Jutland. Was it a British victory because Britain maintained control of the seas? Or was it a German victory because Germany inflicted heavier losses? The answer depends largely on how victory is defined. Tactically, Germany performed impressively against a larger opponent. Strategically, Britain achieved its primary objective by preserving naval dominance. Most modern historians therefore describe Jutland as a battle with mixed results. A tactical success for Germany, a strategic success for Britain. The complexity of that conclusion helps explain why the battle remains so fascinating to scholars today. Today, the Battle of Jutland is remembered as the largest clash of battleships in history. It represented the culmination of decades of naval competition between the world's great powers. Never again would such massive battle fleets meet under similar circumstances. The rise of aircraft carriers, naval aviation, radar, and submarine warfare would transform combat at sea. In many ways, Jutland marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. It was the final great confrontation of the dreadnought age, a battle fought by steel giants whose thunder echoed across the North Sea. And more than a century later, its lessons continue to influence the study of naval warfare. The Battle of Jutland was not the decisive naval showdown many expected, yet it remains one of the most important battles in maritime history. It tested the world's most powerful fleets, revealed the strengths and weaknesses of modern battleships, and demonstrated the complex relationship between tactical and strategic success. Most importantly, it confirmed that Britain would remain master of the seas for the remainder of the war. The age of the dreadnought had reached its greatest moment, and at Jutland, history witnessed the largest fleet battle ever fought.